Okay, 25K run.
Mm.
That's a pretty ambitious goal, right? I mean, for most of us, that's not just a casual stroll in the park. It's a serious challenge. And today, that's exactly what we're diving into someone else's success story.
And the best part is, this isn't some elite athlete with a whole team and sponsors. This is a real person with a blog called Running Rebooted who went from lockdown laps to, well, the clue's in the name, marathon miles. We can relate to that.
Right. It's like we're getting a sneak peek into their journey. No fancy marketing, just
Mhm.
raw, relatable experience.
Exactly. And the post we're looking at is my first 25K mid-December challenge, which they posted on July 8th, 2024.
Hold on, July
Yeah.
after the run. So we already know they succeed.
Exactly. That's what makes it even more interesting. What did they do right? What almost made them quit? It's like reverse engineering success.
Love that. Okay, so first thing I noticed, our blogger wasn't just running every day. They're cycling, playing badminton, even mentioned a football game. Is that like a normal thing for endurance training?
It's called cross training, and honestly, it should be more common than it is. Different activities, different muscle groups helps prevent injuries, especially as you increase your mileage.
Makes sense. Keep
Yeah.
things interesting too. Can't imagine just running day in, day out. Gets boring.
Exactly. And I bet even outside of running, being well-rounded like that makes you a better athlete overall.
100%. Oh, and this is great. The blogger talks about getting advice from friends. Proof you don't have to figure everything out alone, right?
Absolutely. That support system, even just a cheering squad, makes a huge difference.
Speaking of cheering squads, I need one just to get out the door on the day of this run. They describe mid-December freezing cold. I get why they mentioned friends earlier. But on a serious note, how much does weather actually impact how well you perform?
It's not just about comfort, though that's important. Cold makes your muscles stiff, so you're less efficient. And wind resistance, huge energy drain.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. So bundled up makes sense. And they even mention a hydration pack, energy gels. That seems a little intense for someone not even running a full marathon yet.
Well, there's always that line between over-preparing and under-preparing. But think about it, even if they didn't use all the gear, just knowing it's there, it's like a mental boost.
Like a security blanket for runners. I can relate to that. Okay, so they're going, feeling good, and then bam. They call it a predictable wall, 10K yen, smooth sailing, 15K, the wheels come off. Isn't that SO true for any big goal, though? The initial excitement fades, and then the real test begins.
Yeah, and there's actually a physiological reason that 15K mark can be so tough. Your glycogen stores, that's your body's main energy source, they start to,
They start to disappear because you went out too fast, like you were shot out of a cannon.
yeah, you got to pace yourself. That burst of energy at the start, it's not going to last.
Lesson learned. So they hit this wall, even consider calling it quits.
Yeah.
But then they decide to push past their planned 22K and go for the full 25. Is that
Yeah.
or a recipe for disaster?
It's a fine line, right? You have to listen to your body, but sometimes you got to push through discomfort to hit that next level. Key is discomfort, not pain. Those are different.
Speaking of pain, Dio mentioned their knee acting up later on. I appreciate that detail. Not all success stories are pain-free, makes it more relatable.
Right, and it's worth paying attention to. Some discomfort's normal, but sharp pain, that's your body saying, hey, slow down.
Good advice in general. Okay, so they're pushing through, almost there. And they mention their usual park coming into view, and suddenly it's like this wave of energy hits them. Like just seeing a familiar place gave them a boost.
The power of our environment, even subconsciously, it's amazing. Think about your workspace. Messy desk, does that make you anxious? Or do you thrive in the chaos? It all impacts us.
That's so true. Okay, so they finished, they did it, 25K. Where's the celebration? Instead, they're hit with self-doubt, wondering if they're even cut out for a marathon.
Yeah.
That's harsh.
It's more common than you think, honestly. Imposter syndrome, that feeling of, I don't belong, even when you've earned your spot. And it can happen anywhere, not just running.
So even success is messy sometimes. Like you achieve the goal, shouldn't that silence the inner critic?
You'd think, right. But sometimes it just amplifies it. The real work is recognizing those thoughts, reframing them.
And in this case, what's the reframe?
They ran 25 kilometers, they pushed through, overcame the mental game, and hit their goal. Celebrate that, even with the self-doubt mixed in.
You got to take the good with the good. Well, not bad, but the challenging parts of success, too. Speaking of challenges, remember how our blogger mentioned Christmas break coming up? I feel like that ties into this whole balance thing we've been talking about. But first, we need to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, so we're back, and I'm still thinking about that Christmas break our blogger mentions. Like, yay, holidays, but also, eek. will taking time off ruin their training?
It's that balance, right? Rest versus routine. But remember, marathon, not a sprint. Breaks are important physically, mentally, even a little indulgence here and there.
Okay, so maybe those extra cookies are justified. But how do you stay motivated? Won't you lose momentum if you take your foot off the gas?
It's not about stopping completely, it's active recovery.
Active recovery. So like
Mm.
still moving, but not beast mode every day.
Exactly. Lighter workouts, cross-training, even just walks. Keep moving, but lower intensity.
Hitting pause, not eject on the routine. Got it.
Hmm.
And hey, maybe those walks involve some holiday lights, a hot chocolate stop.
Now you're thinking. Enjoy the holidays, but don't completely derail yourself. It's all about finding that balance.
And looking back at the whole journey, that's what stands out to me. It wasn't just one day I'll run 25K. It was gradual, different activities, friends for support.
Exactly. Layers. And that's something everyone listening can take away no matter what their goal is. Marathon, work project, new habit. Those layers matter.
So we've got the physical training, the mental game, support network, and strategic breaks, all working together.
And just like our blogger realized they might need a coach, sometimes you gotta add a layer or adjust one. Ask for advice, try new tools, maybe even just take a step back and reassess.
Be adaptable. The path to success isn't always a straight line. Sometimes it's about embracing those detours.
And that's what's so cool about these deep dives. We start with someone else's story, but the real magic is when you connect it to your life.
So as we wrap up, we're left with this. What's your next challenge? And how can you use this idea of training in layers to achieve it? Big or small, personal or professional, there's always something to learn. And hey, maybe one day we'll be featuring your story right here on The Deep Dive. Until then, happy training.